It's a beautiful day. It's a nice day to be in the park. But we're not here just to spend a day in the park. I want to thank all the dignitaries and senior leadership that showed up here today. What a great showing. Thank you for your honor and respect in doing that. I very much appreciate that. And thank you, Colonel, for inviting me here today. But picture this with me, if you will. It's a warm July evening, and you're sitting at your desk in the loft, finishing up on some work, a little preoccupied, and waiting for dinner. You hear a knock on the door, and you yell downstairs, "Honey, there's someone at the door." Your wife is in the kitchen making you dinner, and then there is another persistent knock, and you say, "There's someone at the door." You hear your wife walk to the front door, pause, and then slam the door. Not a word is spoken. You think to yourself, we must have missed him. They must have left. And then from the bottom of the stairs, your wife somewhat softly says, "Kevin, you really aren't paying much attention because you are working." Not quite yelling, she says more loudly, "Kevin." And you reply, maybe a little irritated for being interrupted, and maybe a little louder, "What?" And you can just barely hear her say, there are two uniformed officers at the front door. That knock on the door hits you like a 7.0 earthquake. It shakes your world, and it knocks you to the floor. There is only one reason that they are there. You go downstairs, you open the door, and you invite them into your home. The lieutenant sits on the couch, the chaplain sits on the recliner, and they suggest that you sit down also. And you respond, "No, I'm fine." They continue, "We are here to tell you that your son has been killed in the line of duty." And that is all they tell you. Honestly, that is all they know. And then you just try and breathe. You struggle to put one foot in front of the other. You have to learn to walk all over again. So Memorial Day, it's a day of remembrance. I have to tell you that 16 years ago, never in my wildest imagination would I have thought that I would be here today. I've done some public speaking in the past, and I've always been a patriot. I love my country, and I believe it can return to the great nation it once was. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, I never thought I'd be up here with the title of Gold Star Dad. Today is about remembering those that have given their life for their country. Greater love hath no man than this, that he lay down his life for his friends. So my name is Kevin Graves, and I am the proud father of Specialist Joseph A. Graves. My son Joey fought for his country, and on 25 July of '06, he gave his life for his country. Just as Isaiah responded to God in the Old Testament, Joey, when asked by his country, "Whom shall I send?" Joey responded with, "Here am I, send me." Those are the words printed on a wall at the Military Police Memorial Grove in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. There are a row of pavers round in front of the wall. On one of those pavers, there are a set of crossed pistols, the insignia of the MPs, and the words, Specialist Joseph A. Graves, OIF, 25 July, '06. Above that paver on the wall are the words, "Send me." That's what all the young and women of today's military say. Send me. They volunteer to serve their country. And so as we gather this Memorial Day, let's also remember and pray for those that are currently serving. When I speak about my son, when I speak about Joe, I speak on behalf of over 7,000 Gold Star families whose sons and daughters have given their life since 9/11. They have a similar story to tell. This day is not just about Joe. It's about all our heroes. This is the only story I know, so it's the story that I'm going to share with you. Joseph Anthony Graves was born 28 December 2004 in Castro Valley. At 9 years old, I started raising him as a single parent. They were the greatest years of my life. Joe and I were truly best friends, and we truly participated in each other's lives. He taught me to be a parent as I taught him to be a young man. Joey's understanding and acceptance and his love of Christ blossomed at this time. He was always active in our church and took a leadership role in his youth group. But at 17, much to my surprise, Joey decided to enlist in the Army through the delayed entry program. It was obvious to me that he had been speaking to a recruiter, a good recruiter. So I invited that recruiter over to my house that night and grilled him for 3 hours. After that interrogation, I asked Joey, "Is this what you really want to do?" And he said yes. So that night, I signed the papers that put my son in the Army. He chose the military police because his goal was to be an FBI field agent. He ended up graduating from Liberty High School with a 3.8 GPA. He could have gone to college anywhere he wanted, but he chose to serve his country. His career wasn't long. He went to basic at Fort Leonard Wood. After completing basic, he went to Fort Benning and jumped out of perfectly good airplanes. He then went to Yongsan, Korea for a year-long tour. Joey showed his love for Christ over there and the importance of his faith by starting a Bible study and leading other kids to Christ. Joey returned from Korea in March of 2005, and after spending a short time with me at home on block leave, he and I made the long drive to Fort Hood, Texas. It was a fantastic road trip, and it was the last time we were ever able to spend any really quality time together. A month before he deployed, he returned home to Discovery Bay to be the best man at our wedding. This would be the last time this would be the last time his family or any of his friends would see him. A couple of weeks later in Texas, he married his high school sweetheart, Corey. 3 weeks later, he deployed. Over the next 8 months, I heard from Joe often. He would call more than write. MPs, they seem to always have comms nearby where they can make phone calls. We probably talked 2 or 3 times a month. He told me of the progress they were making. He and his company really believed that they were making a difference, that they were doing something positive. Whenever I showed concern, he would always say, "Don't worry, Dad, we're in one of the safest areas of Iraq." Well, obviously that wasn't exactly true. On 25 July of 2006, 1st Platoon was on an escort mission outside of Baghdad. 400 meters from the next checkpoint, they were hit by what was described as a well-orchestrated ambush. There was one casualty. My only son, my only child, was killed when his Humvee was struck by multiple EFPs. And then you get the knock on the door. Your life changes forever. And just like that, you have to make choices that you had never thought you would be making. All of a sudden, you have to make choices such as, what kind of memorial service do you want? Do you want to speak at the service? Where do you want to bury your son? And at the same time, internally, you're asking yourself questions such as, can you still breathe? Do you still know how to walk? Do you still want to live? And you struggle to find a way to survive. For me, it's through my faith, my belief in God. I believe that God truly has a better plan than I do. But for each of us, survivors, our paths to grieving can be very different. The important thing is that you do find a healthy path to grieving. You will be on that path for the rest of your life. I believe that if you can't find a healthy path, you will die. And you will either die spiritually or you will die physically, but you will die. I've seen it happen more than once. After a couple of years struggling, learning, leaning on others that walked on this path before me, I made the most critical choice of my life. I spoke earlier of choices. I chose to not just survive. I chose to live. I chose to embrace a healthy path to grieving and to honor my son by using his sacrifice to help others. As the fog started to clear, as I started to develop relationships with other Gold Star families, other survivors, I found that I was getting my healing from helping others heal. In 2009, we established a foundation, Some Gave All, the Joey Graves Foundation. Our mission is to provide venues for survivors to come together to help and support each other. We have been successful in touching many lives in a very positive way to help survivors to find that healthy path to grieving. We have developed peer-to-peer mentoring for survivors as well as supported many veteran and active duty programs. We have established scholarships for Gold Star children totaling well over $100,000. Some of those recipients are sitting in front of me right now. Two remarkable things happened to me in 2010. I felt compelled to complete Joey's mission, so I joined the Cal Guard. I became a chaplain's assistant and have achieved the rank of Sergeant First Class, E7. I served the 185th MP Battalion, which is right over here off of Highway 4 in Pittsburgh. Later that same year, I changed careers. After almost 30 years in the construction industry, I went to work for CalVet, the California Department of Veterans Affairs. There I serve as an outreach specialist, serving 10 counties here in the Bay Area, providing benefits and resources to veterans and their families. There are still many days that I have to make a conscious effort to breathe, to walk, to survive. Depression is a dark and dangerous cloud that is always hovering nearby. But I have been blessed enough to find a path that works for me. With help from my wife, my friends, and fellow survivors, I have developed coping skills. The pain is always there. I want it to be. It keeps Joey alive in me. But I hold on very tight to the wonderful memories because that is all I have left. I share Joey's story and tell the story of hope. I live believing that I will see him again someday. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening to our story. And thank you for honoring our heroes. God bless.